Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the 1111 Matrix Code Revealed. As always, I am your host, Garrett King. Bet you didn't expect to see me back so soon. Something kind of interesting happened last night. The mystery of Bob, for those of you who have been following along and watching these videos, you should have an understanding of who Bob is. If not, maybe you can piece it together from what I'm about to say. But this was so odd how things fall into place in this way. And you're going to see what I'm talking about here in just a moment. So last night, I was reading Micah Dank's book, which, by the way, Micah Dank has agreed, like I said, to come on the show. We've already set up a date and a time. So it's going to be February 5th. Not this Saturday, but the following Saturday. And we're going to record in the evening. So it'll be interesting to see how this goes, what Micah thinks of my presentation, and if he feels that there's any connections with his work. So hopefully I can have the show up by Sunday or Monday, depending on if I have to go in and do any editing of any kind, or I usually don't do much editing at all. Probably should when I screw up my words like that. But anyway, so I was reading his book last night, and the very first one in the series. And one of the characters was talking about the ohm frequency, the ohm, the sound that, like Buddhist monks make when they're chanting or meditating. And there was a number mentioned that sound has a frequency of 136.1 hertz. So, obviously that's a number. And just the way my mind is working now, I look at numbers and I instantly realized that, 1 plus 3 plus 6 plus 1 is 11. And I was like, whoa, okay, interesting. And so I went to the internet, just as you can see here on the computer, and just typed in, 136.1 hertz just to see what, references came up. And I came across this one that you can see right here where it says C#, 136.1 hertz, cosmic note, ohm. Now, the key word here that stood out to me as soon as I read that was note. Think of it for just a second. You might see where I'm about to go here. Note. Refer back to June of last year when all of this started kind of unraveling and decoding itself. I received an email from someone named Bob, and the subject line and the body of the email, all it said was a note from the universe. Now, obviously, the very first time I saw this, I was interpreting note as in a message, like this was a message, this was a note from the universe. Now, and that goes to show when I finally did reply to this email, because that email came in on June 25th in 2021 at 10:26 a.m. I finally responded October 25th, 2021 at 12:29 p.m. And again, my mind frame was that it was a message. So that's why I replied, what is the message? Still no response, even to this day. But now it makes me think maybe I should have typed something else. But of course I didn't know. So a note from the universe. I wonder what would have happened if I had replied with 136.1. Who knows? Maybe nothing. But as I started looking at this, the phrase, a note from the universe, let's go to Gematria and just type that in, a note from the universe. Oh, whoops. I need to put it on Jewish cipher. I was looking at this like, that's not what I was getting last night. Geez. Okay, let's make sure we have the correct ciphers on. That will always help. So turn English and full reduction off. Reverse off. Go to Jewish and just set it to Jewish only. And again, I don't know why any of this is just happening with just the cipher. That's up for debate. Okay, now I'm going to type in a note from the universe. So look at the value, 1604, the number 11. But now let's look at something else very quickly here. So we already have 11, but let's take 1604 plus its mirror opposite, 4061. We have 5665. And if you look, it's an encoded 1111. Because 5 and 6 is 11, and 6 and 5 is 11. 1111. I don't know why I didn't, why none of this came to me before now, other than the fact of reading Micah Dink's book, seeing that frequency, realizing that frequency, came out to 11, going to the internet and seeing, this, a cosmic note. I mean, it's so bizarre. It's so bizarre. The steps that this has taken to reveal itself. And again, that email came back in June, and it's taken this long to finally figure it out. And I don't, again, I was always putting words and phrases into Gematria. Like, why didn't I put this in? A note from the universe? I don't know. And maybe I did, but I just didn't make the connection. I don't remember doing it. But you would have thought if I had and I'd seen the number 11, I would have been like, whoa. And now that I'm looking at this, something else stands out. Look at the word universe by itself. Universe by itself is 1129. Again, that's another encoded 1111 because you have 11 and then 2 and 9 is 11. Universe. A note from the universe. 1604 plus its mirror opposite, 5665. It's an encoded 1111. How bizarre is that? I cannot wait to go through my presentation and just start unpacking all of this for Micah. I hope I hope it's not too much, all at once. But folks, you just can't. I really honestly don't feel like I am just grasping at straws and just trying to make connections that don't exist. This is so hard to deny when you keep seeing these numbers appear over and over and over and over again. It's nonstop. So yeah, the mystery of Bob deepens. And it's like a note from the universe, and it was right in front of my face the entire time. I just, and maybe that's what it took. It took me, having people mention Micah Dink to me, being on Whiskey, Beer, and Conspiracies podcast, and having those guys mention Micah Dink, to trigger me to look into his work and purchase his books. And because frankly, like I've watched many videos that Micah Dank has been in, and I don't recall in any of them him mentioning this ohm frequency. So it was only through purchasing his books and reading the first one that I come across the number 136.1. It's crazy. This is like, and it almost is starting to feel like one of his books. Just the mystery, the unraveling of all of this information. I feel like it's very similar to what his characters are doing in the first book. I'm not trying to make connections like that, but I'm just saying it has that feel. Okay. So, but how bizarre is that? I mean, it's an email from a complete, total random stranger. If in fact it is a stranger who sent it. I mean, who knows how this email was transmitted, whether it was a person, a bot, a whatever. And to have just that simple message, a note from the universe. And then it equaling 1111. It's mind-blowing. I hate using that word because now that's the word everyone says, and mind-blowing has in Gematria equals 1111. So just to show you, there you go, mind-blowing 1111. It's just so it's cool. I mean, it is cool to see these things connect and like unfold and unravel in this way, but it really blows the mind. So yeah, it's just one more step in trying to unravel this mystery. So yeah. Okay, I'm going to inject this this video that I'm recording right now into the middle of when I just recorded, or the one that you've been watching, because I forgot to mention something here really quickly. So I wanted to point this out before I forgot. One of the other interesting things with this number 5665, and again, like I said, it's an encoded 1111. 5 and 6 is 11. 6 and 5 is 11. But when you take 56 plus 65, 56 plus 65, you get 121, which also ties back into 121 over here that I had showed earlier, several videos back. But if you remember the first number, 371074, that was the first number that was generated by taking 1111 times 333, getting 369, 963, adding 1111 back to it. So that was the first number generated, and that number reduces to 22. But when you add the number in like a sequence of two numbers, so like 37 plus 10 plus 74, as I've done over here, you get 121. That's exactly what 5665 gives us. That also seems to sort of reflect back to the numbers 12 and 21 being combined here, which if you remember, 37 is the 12th prime and 73 is the 21st prime. But also, let's 5665, okay? So let's just add each one of these individually. So 5 plus 6 plus 6 plus 5. Whoops, what's going on here? 5. Oh, I did times. What the hell am I thinking? 5 plus 6 plus 6 plus 5 gives us 22. Again, so does in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth. 22 gave it equaled 1894. And 1 plus 8 plus 9 plus 4 is 22. The name Jesus gives us 985. 9 plus 8 plus 5 is 22. And then just obviously 11 plus 11 is 22. So you can see all of these connections with this number, and that in fact, it is an encoded 1111. Okay, so forgot to add that. Wanted to throw that in there. So let's get back to the original video. All right, the other thing I wanted to do really quickly is, I keep talking about a simulation, and, a lot of people have a hard time imagining how that might actually work. So I thought it would be cool to pull up this program here. It's called Cinema 4D, and as you can see, I'm just using a trial version, and I only have 4 days left to use this. So I thought, well, I better get this done quickly in order to show before the trial runs out. So this is, I just want to kind of get your mind into this idea of like seeing how the idea of a simulation isn't as far-fetched as we might think, or as some people might think. I don't think it's far-fetched at all. So what you're looking at is a blank canvas, okay? There's nothing that exists here. It's just a void, okay? We see like what looks like a plane, but if we were to render this, it's total darkness, okay? There's nothing there. So this would be what would be considered, I guess, like in the film The Matrix, the construct. This is where we would start building elements that we need in order to create a reality, okay? So I'm just going to put an object in here, and I'm just going to use the sphere, okay? So here's a sphere. We render this. That's what we see. It's just a ball sitting there in darkness. But I want to show you guys something. If you look right over here, it says segments 16. So there's 16 segments to this ball. I'm going to take it down to 3 because that's as far down as I can go. It won't let me go to 2 or 1. Look at the shape that we have. Okay. Looks like a diamond, but also it's a triangle. And there's another triangle. It's a representation of as above, so below. And many of you have picked up on that, and you've left comments on YouTube. I didn't want to say it. I wanted to see if you guys would pick up on it. And many of you have. You've left messages on or comments on the last video saying those exact words, as above, so below. So we have the triangle. Okay, and we're looking at it flat. So we have triangle above, triangle below, but yet we have the ability to spin this around and look at it from all directions. And remember, this is a sphere, okay? And I hope I didn't say cube earlier. If I said cube, I meant sphere, but yeah. Okay. So I just want to show you something here. So as we continue to add segments back to this, and I think I need to scoot this over just a little bit. Okay, so I'm just going to put, I don't know. Let's see if I can stretch that out. Well, for some reason, okay, there we go. I wasn't getting the other button here. So as we continue to add segments, so I'm just going to go up. Okay, then we have this shape. And as we continue to add segments, it keeps smoothing it out, until we have a perfect ball or sphere. And as you can see, when we render it, it's super smooth. So right there we have triangle and circle. But you're probably asking, okay, well, where was the square? I didn't see the square there. It's there. We just have to look at it from a different angle. Let's move this up. So looking from the top down, we can see the 4 points that make up a square. So we've gotten a perfect sphere from this object simply by increasing the segments and it's smoothing out. Okay. Now you're probably wondering, like, well, what are you talking about by segments? Well, these objects are made up of polygons. So if we were to make this edible, not edible as in eating, but editable, as in having the ability to edit this object, then we can start to see maybe if they'll show up. Let's see, let's go to, there we go. Now you can see the lines that actually make up this sphere. All right. But here we have, again, just there was nothing here at first. We've added a sphere. We render it. We can see it. It's in total darkness, and it's just a ball sitting there. That's it. But what if we were to add a floor? And we'll move the floor down. And we render it again. Okay, well now we have a sphere and this flat plane. All right. Let's render it again. So again, it doesn't, I mean, there's nothing to it that looks real. All right. It's just a simulation, and it's a poor one at that because it's very, very basic. All right. I'm going to get, well, no, I'm just going to go ahead and leave that sphere there. So the next thing that we have to do to start adding reality or our perception of reality to this and start making it look like, you know, something that could really exist, well, we need a light. Okay, so I've added a light. It's currently sitting inside this sphere because that's where it added it to the center of this scene. We render it again. Well, now it's the ball or sphere is in pitch darkness because the light's inside of it. All right, so let's go ahead and move the light up and over. Render it again. Well, now you can see that we have light hitting this side of it because the light is on this side of the ball or sphere, and the other side is encased in total darkness. But there's something else missing. A shadow. Well, it's just as simple as coming over here and turning on a shadow map and rendering it again. And lo and behold, we have a shadow. This is very rude. I mean, it's basic. Okay. It is very, very basic, but I'm just showing you the idea, the principles behind a simulation, building a reality from nothing. Okay. Now, there's other things that can be done here. I mean, you know, we can start adding in, let's see, we can start adding in color. So let's make this sphere orange. Render it again. Now it's orange. I mean, shadow's still there, floor's still there. Let's make the floor, let's give it a color. Render it again. Okay. It's green. And now there's a bit of reflectiveness to it. Okay, because we're starting, here's the orange on the sphere, and we're starting to kind of see it being reflected here. That's because I previously added some reflection or reflectance to that color swatch. So just like in real life, I mean, there's a mirror effect, just like us looking in the mirror. We could turn up the reflectance of this and have a perfect mirror, but I'm just demonstrating the ideas of a simulation and having this sort of construct, this empty blank space in which to build a reality from. All right. So once more, just render it really quickly just so you can see. All right. But there's other things that we can do. So we can get rid of the light and we can add a sky. Render it again. Now you can see that the ball looks like it's floating because it's not quite touching the surface here. But now the sky is emitting its own light because I got rid of the light that was there. So the sky is acting as a light. But a light without the ability to cast a shadow. So in order to do that, we need a sunlight. Yep. Isn't that interesting? So, let's see here. Let's move this over just a little bit. So somewhere in here, we can actually set I'm trying to find it. Oh, here it is. We can set the date, the literal date and time that the sun is going to be in my physical sky where I am at right now. So it's even telling me the time. Time's 11:28. That's exactly what it shows here. Today's the 27th. So I can go, and it's the 22nd, January 20. I mean, like the program knows. So let's just move this back a little bit. Like that. And let's render this scene again. Okay, so now we can see where the sunlight is hitting it. This side's in darkness. We need to turn on our shadow map, which I'm not sure why it's not showing the shadow, but still you get the idea of what I'm trying to show you here. I mean, yes, it's a 3D program. We're creating a 3D reality. The idea of this reality that we're in being a simulation isn't that far-fetched when you really stop and think about the idea of like this body that we're in isn't us. Like our soul is what makes us. This is just like an avatar, for lack of a better word, that we're using to experience this reality. It's like a vehicle that we're kind of just riding around in, experiencing this reality. And the idea of a creator, an architect of the simulation doing something very similar to what I just showed you here. Now, again, this is very, very basic. We're using basic shapes. But even these basic shapes can be molded and reshaped to form anything imaginable, because we're already doing it. We're already doing it in almost every film that comes out now. There's some sort of special effect. There's 3D characters, 3D backgrounds, landscapes, buildings. They don't want to take the time to build an entire set, so they build it in 3D and shoot it against green screen. And it's getting to the point, not always, but sometimes it gets to the point where you cannot judge or tell what is real and what's not real. Now, I think where it's lacking tremendously is when it comes to character animation. There's when you look at a 3D character, especially one that they're rendering as being human, not an alien character, not some sort of 3D cartoony character like Monsters Inc. or something like that. But when they're trying to render a real person or someone who was real at one time, for example, Grand Moff Tarkin in Rogue One, Peter Cushing, was already passed, but they recreated him in 3D. But when you look at a 3D character, what I think is most important is when you pay close attention to their eyes, that's what gives it away. There's something missing from a 3D character's eyes when you're looking at them. It's like you're watching a person without a soul or without life inside of them. It's just a hollow shell that's moving around and talking and speaking to you, but there's no life in the eyes. Like when my husband and I were watching the film in the theater, he had no idea it wasn't a real character. And I was like, really? I mean, I already knew that Peter Cushing had passed, so they were, like computer generating him on the screen. But he's like, yeah, I had no idea. And I was like, really? All I had to do was just look at his eyes and realize that there's no life. There's no character in his eyes. It was almost like looking at someone who was glazed over, So yeah, what the character is missing is the person to control the avatar. It's the injection of the soul into this 3D animated character that is missing. So when you think of it like that, and you think of us in a simulation, quite literally, if you removed the soul, or life from the body, obviously you would just be looking at a corpse. But if the corpse's eyes are open, there's obviously a dead look to them because they are dead. But there's something missing from the eyes. I hope that makes sense what I'm trying to say, but yeah, I'm just trying to point out that the idea of a simulated reality is not as crazy as you might think when you look at it in this sense. And again, this is so basic, but entire worlds are created in a computer and generated onto our movie screens and TV screens. And we watch these like Avatar. Take Avatar, for example, the whole entire world of Avatar, the characters, they are avatars. There are people being injected into these 3D characters, or They're not supposed to be 3D characters in the movie, even though that's technically what they are. But it's the same thing. You have a body that's missing a controller. Yeah. It gets really deep when you start to think about it, and you start thinking about this being a simulation, and that, everything around us could just simply be a creation, which it is a creation, but I mean, it could be a simulated creation. So it's not that hard to imagine. It's not that far-fetched of an idea. And if there's a creator that has the ability to create everything that we're seeing right now, that we call God, the architect, whatever name you want to give him or her, they have the ability to do this. And that technology that must be something so far out there that we can't even conceive of at the moment. I mean, we're kind of getting there a little bit. We can generate characters in 3D. We can generate worlds. We can simulate rain, wind, even gravity. Even gravity can be simulated in this computer. And we don't really have a real grasp of the idea of gravity. They can't explain how it works, but they claim that they know that it exists. But when you think of it as a simulation, well, you don't have to explain it. It's programmed to be that way. I could sit here and generate rain, wind. I could animate this object to, float up here in the sky. I could put a floor here and program it, or, just set it up with the tags that I need to generate the animation of this ball dropping from the sky, hitting the floor and bouncing. All of it can be simulated in a computer, just like our reality. Now, the only things we can't put into this is the feeling of pain or injecting a real human into the character. Now, yes, we can put dots on their face and map their movements and then assign it to a character and have them mimic the same movements that the actor's doing. We can do that. We can have them voice a character that's created. But we can't take, not yet, a person's soul and put it into a 3D character. But who says at some point we won't be able to? Who knows? Because if this is a simulation that we're in right now, and we are simply, like, our souls are, running this avatar that we're in, then the possibility already exists. We just haven't achieved that point in time where we're able to do it ourselves. But we may get there. Maybe a long time, but we may get there at some point. Who knows? And maybe already, just with what we're able to do now, we're getting too close. And maybe that's why a possible reset is about to take place. Maybe that's what's happened in the past. Maybe each period of time, they've gotten so close to the truth that it's like, whoa, we need to pull things back and keep them at a certain distance. Let's reset and allow them to start over. I don't know. I'm just throwing out ideas here, folks. And I'm just trying to point out that the idea of a simulation is not as crazy as some people might think. So All right. Really quickly, one other thing I wanted to point out, going back to this email from Bob, is, so if you remember, I had taken all of the numbers from the date and the time that, the original email was sent to me, added those together. We got 27, which I want to point out today is the 27th. And 2 and 7 is 9. And then when I replied on October 25th, the numbers from the date and time that I replied also equal 27, and 2 and 7 is 9. But even my reply, let's go back to Gematria. I typed in, what is the message? Gives the value of 1449, and it reduces to 9. Again, what are the chances of that? Yeah. All right. That's enough for today. I've rambled on too much. I just, again, I just wanted to, I thought this was such a weird connection with the 136.1 hertz, that number equaling 11, seeing that it was talking about a cosmic note, that triggering me to go back to the email that I got from Bob, and just finding the connections to 1111. I mean, the whole thing is just bizarre. Really bizarre. So, all right. That's it for this time. Like I said, we'll be recording with Micah Dank, not this Saturday, but the next. So I probably won't have, unless something else new comes up. I didn't expect to record today either, but this, whole thing with this number it just all happened just last night. So, but unless something new happens between now and not this Saturday, but the next, I probably won't have a video come out until I record with Micah. But again, that could change. So who knows? All right. So I'm going to head out, and until next time, take care, and we'll talk soon. Bye-bye.